Have you spent the last 2 weeks working on your business plan? There's a chance you might have done it the same as you've always done it, and it could be all wrong. So that's the topic of today, and I've got a legend business coach from Melbourne, Kamahl from Barefoot Business. Excited to have you here, mate.
Awesome to be here, Steve. So cool to be here.
What an honour. So today we're going to have a really good conversation about, this 2020 planning and how everyone typically does it from your experience.
Yeah. Everyone's sitting there, the start of the year, doing their business planning, doing their projections for the year, doing it the same way that they've always done it. Their projections might look different, the numbers might look different, but the way in which they've gone about it is the same way they've done it year in and year out, and that's what we're here to talk about today.
So they get in and they, get around the room and hopefully they would have already done it by now. This should be going on back in November, December. But if you're like a few of us, you get to the start of the year and it's like, shit, we've got to get on that. And, everyone's getting back into the mode after a great holiday. And I'm sure you steel pushers out there have had a good break. It's unfortunate about these fires that have gone on around Australia, and big shout out to everyone, really, the firefighters and everyone, but also the people who have donated and really making a difference. This is a great country. Super proud to be living in this country for me, from New Zealand originally. So, to see everyone coming together and really, getting in behind it, supporting each other, and then back to business now. It's time to turn on and get these 2020 plans going.
Let's do it. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you talked about it earlier. It's a lot of business owners, and we got, a bit stuck in this as well. It's all about tactics and strategy. What's your theory behind it?
Yeah, look, 100%. And 98% of business owners right now are going, right, here's our projection. We're going to do an extra $1, an extra $1 million, an extra $10 million. And they're looking for the tactic or the strategy. They're looking for that one thing that's going to get them there, the magic pill, the magic wand. And it's the tactics and the strategies have always been out there. You don't need to find anything new. The 2% of businesses that are going to explode this year, the 2% that are going to realise the type of growth they've never realised before, is being run by business owners who don't look for the tactics and strategy. They're reshaping and growing the capacity of who they are as a leader, as a business owner. And when you expand your capacity in that respect, the tactics come and they present themselves to you.
It's great to hear that, because that was the journey I went on last year. I felt like I'd hit the ceiling. So I've talked about it in some of the past shows where I felt like I'd hit the ceiling. So I had to go out and I'm chasing leadership, and I'm, what else can I be doing? What else can I be learning? But, how are we skilling our people? Because it is the leader growing, but it's also the people within the organisation.
Yeah, look, absolutely. But every business will reflect its leadership. So the leader has to be growing, and when the leader grows, then you can't sit under someone who's growing and not grow yourself. So it's really a conversation about grow or go. So if you're expanding your capacity from a leadership perspective, and the people in your team aren't prepared to grow themselves, as much as you want to lift them up and as much as you want to boost people up, if they're not prepared to do it themselves, then they won't be able to hang around that. It'll be too much for them.
Well, someone else will take that space, won't they? Because it's like the old pot plant. It's either growing or dying.
Yeah.
And if that person's not growing or something, someone else takes the spot.
Yeah. Look, absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that. People will often hold on to a team member longer than they'll do whatever it takes to keep that person, because that person's so good. But if they're not the right match for the team, and if you're not prepared to be able to let them go, maybe the growth that you've taken just doesn't match where they are in their life or whatever it is. And every time without fail, when you hold on to it for the sake of holding on to it, it turns into shit. It really does. And when that person goes, and you might have to send them off with love and gratitude and whatever, and you let them go, even though it hurts in the immediate time. Always when you look back at your best staff member that you had to let go, or they decided they wanted to go, and when you let them go, as you look back on it, isn't the attitude, actually, I'm glad that's happened?
Yeah. And oh God, we should have done that earlier, and for them too.
100%.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So what's, you've seen a lot of businesses and worked in a lot of these businesses. What are some really cool things that people have done at the start of the year that you can see it was part of process that they put into this 2020 planning that really helped them for the year?
It's the tactics and strategy 98% versus the who do I need to become or who must I become 2%. Understanding that whenever I'm saying, or whenever a business owner is saying, what do I need externally to be able to grow, they're people that are going to be stuck and won't actually experience that growth. When people are actually saying, who do I need to become? So it's not about the resources. It's always about the resourcefulness. So what are the conversations that you're having in the boardroom right now that are resource-based? I need a team member, or I need a magic bullet, or we need to get blue pens instead of black pens, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Those conversations, they're fine and they're critical in business, but they're 98% conversations. The people that are going to shine are going to grow. How do I tap into the resource? Who do I need to become as a leader?
Yeah.
Who do we need to become as a team in order to have that next level of growth?
So the conversations about how we're going to train our team this year.
Yeah.
Who are we going to bring in to help us train the team?
Absolutely.
What is the team culture things doing? What are we doing for our team? How are we making this a better work environment?
Yeah.
That's all the key things, isn't it?
Absolutely. Interesting though, if it's who do I bring in to train the team because you're using that person as the crutch to get more out of the team, not going to work.
Yeah.
Who do we bring in to grow our capacity, to expand our own belief around what we can achieve and how we're going to do it?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So the old story that I heard, and and it's so true. 13 years down the track of our journey, we're all gladiators. These business owners.
You're mad. If you own a business and I own a business, you're mad. Absolutely nuts. Yeah. Well, business is the only sport. Gladiators are the only other athletes. It's the only other sport where the longer you play, the more likely you are to die. And when you look at the stats of business, how many businesses are gone in the first year, 70% are gone in 5 years, 90% are gone in 10 years. The longer you play the game of business, the more likely you are to die. So if you've been in business for more than like 3 days, congratulations. You're a gladiator. You've been doing it 13 years. If you've been kicking around for that long, then there's something really special about your tenacity and about your focus and ability to thrive when everyone else around, or a lot of other people, would really die in that situation.
Yeah, well, that first 2 years, I remember the first 18 months, and plenty of people said it, it was like, man, you've got to play all out. Because you had to. The first 2 years when you're in business, and you wrote those business plans and then you put them in the cupboard or in the drawer, and then you looked at them at the end of the year and go, how did we do? It's like, Jesus, why didn't we do some of this stuff? It's like, hang on, we didn't pull it out till the end of the year. Maybe we should be pulling that out every day and having a look. Yeah,
absolutely. How many times have we had conversations, Steve? We've been working together since about 2013, so let's give it 6 or 7 years. How often do we have the conversation about something we spoke about 5 years ago? It's like, we're finally doing that thing.
Yeah.
That
was like the academy we did last year. I'd wanted to do that for 7 or 8 years.
Right.
Of teaching people how to use a marketplace, but it just kept dropping down the list. The old urgent and important.
Yeah.
And which one are we working on?
But it will, you think about the gladiator in the arena, and they know how to use a sword, and they know how to use a shield, and they know how to use a dagger. But dagger's no good if a big sword's coming at you. You've got to know now's the time to use shield. Yeah. Now's the time to use sword. Now's the time. And so all of those tools are in your kit, all those tools are in your arsenal, and they've always been there. The tactics, the strategies have always been there since the Phoenician traders started business 5,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Nothing has changed.
Yeah.
Sure, we've got an online platform, but business is this supply and demand. It hasn't changed.
Yeah.
So it's knowing what tool to use and when. And that's how a gladiator lives and dies.
How sharp it is. Yep. There's no use pulling out the little tool. You got the right tool, but it's blunt.
Yeah.
So it's about, really getting into it, isn't it? And work on the training and getting in front of it.
And it's a really, really great point, that, because you don't sharpen the sword when you're in the arena and the guy's coming at you.
Oh, you're buggered.
100%.
Too late.
Which is what most business owners do. It's like, oh shit, we need to build our revenue.
Yeah.
Put some ads out.
Yeah.
It's like we need to increase our profits, quick fire someone, or we need to whatever, and we try and do something on the spot, as opposed to actually creating that space where we've got the space and the time to sharpen our axe.
Yeah.
As I think it was Stephen Covey said, in his 7
yeah,
habits.
Yeah. You got to be so many hours, sharpening that sword, and then it's going to be a lot smaller the time you're actually using it.
Yeah.
But when you do use it, it's bloody effective.
Yeah.
And it cuts through.
And you got the sharp dagger, that's been sharpened and it's sitting in your belt, and you might have 10 bouts where you never use. 5 years might go past, you never use it, but that one moment happens and you know exactly when to pull it out. It makes all the difference. Yeah.
So our next little topic here is
cool metaphor, dude.
Be disciplined or get disciplined.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts around this, brother? Because I know you've got some good theories around this.
Yeah, listen, people. No one's afraid of hard work. People will say, you don't want to do the work. No one's afraid of hard work. People are afraid of doing the boring shit. They're not scared of it because we talk about hard work in a fear factor.
Yeah.
But people don't have the discipline to do the boring shit. The thing that you have to do over and over and over. And it's boring even when I say it like this.
Yeah.
But you said these words, be disciplined or get disciplined. You either do it or everything in the environment's going to discipline you for you.
And that's why, at the time, we've had quite a few business coaches over the journey. That's why we brought them in, because I could see Luke and myself, we're cruising along and we're doing great. And then the discipline's like, who the hell are we accountable to now?
Yeah.
And the discipline drops off and you go, where the hell did that just drop off?
Yeah.
Was that 3 months ago? Was it 6 months ago? Where did we stop doing that? So the discipline, so it was all those hard conversations on a weekly basis where you used to come in and kick our bums.
And 90% of the time, if you think back to the best experiences you've ever had or you would ever have with a coach, it's not when they're telling you to do shit. It's when they're asking you those questions, and those questions that bring you back to account.
Yeah.
Because the bad habits, you don't wake up one day I'm really, really disciplined and the next day I've got shit everywhere. It's like boiling the frog.
Yeah.
So these bad habits just kind of, or not even bad habits, but they're ineffective, they're unresourceful.
Yeah.
And they slip in over time, and so it's that the coaching perspective is the objectivity perspective. It's the sitting back going, okay, so you got a bit of money in the bank, so you went and bought some new computers, and you're in a startup business, and you're taking the holidays, and you're doing this with cash flow.
Yeah.
Or you're asking your team to be here ready to go at 8:30 in the morning, and you walk in with a coffee at 8:45 because you're the boss.
Yeah.
Little things that slip in over time that become acceptable, but then you have some objectivity come in from the outside.
Yeah.
And do the little things are the big things in your business.
Every time. Definitely. And that's what we found, it is all those small things that add up. It's like interest in a bank, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you got it the wrong way, you got the old credit card ticking over.
Yeah.
Works against you. But when you've got it going, those little incremental improvements, that's what heads it in the right direction. But that Usain Bolt, I watched him, on one of those YouTube clips, mate, and he just flogs himself.
Yeah.
He's this 100-meter specialist, and we all go, he's just gifted.
So talented.
He's just gifted. I didn't get that. And then I watched this clip about him, and he's like, he flogs himself. He's to absolute 100%, and he'll still do another hour, after throwing up on the side of the track.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Dude, you showed me that clip yesterday. Yeah. His dad can't watch him train because it hurts his dad too much to see his son double over vomiting, and he runs until the point he vomits, and then he starts his training again.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Pure accountability, pure discipline. Yes, he has a coach there. It's like, what sports team on the planet doesn't have a coach?
Absolutely.
And, we've changed them a lot over the years and what have you, but they help you with the journey of discipline, and that's where a lot of our results are in business, I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no athlete, there's no team that doesn't have a coach, and a business that doesn't is, they're setting themselves up to have the same business they've always had.
Yeah.
100%. And it doesn't matter who it is. Yeah, it doesn't matter what type of coach you find. Find someone that speaks your language.
Time's flowing by. We're off to a break already. See you shortly on the other side.
Cam in the kitchen. Look, I got to tell you, I love doing my planning sessions here in the kitchen. I do it at the start of every year. The biggest thing to overcome, though, the biggest hurdle once we do the planning is the first step. What is the first step and how do we take it? Because when we go into planning mode, we tend to think about the big thing at the end of the picture, all right? We want to avoid some pain, so we plan everything we're going to achieve at the end of the year. Guys, the biggest struggle that I've always had with this planning and setting the big goals and working back from that and doing all of that is, once this is done, what's the first step? Because we usually go into something new and great and all these different things that we want to launch in order to grow the business, in order to take ourselves personally, professionally, mentally, whatever it is you're planning out. But then what is the first step is the thing that really hurts the most and is the most difficult to implement, all right? So there's two things you need to do in order to overcome that and be able to start the momentum, all right? Number one is
stop trying to do 10 things. Stop trying to launch 4 things. Stop trying to launch 2 new things. 1 thing. Your focus is to launch 1 thing. Then the second one from that is the 1% conversation. All right, what's 1 thing that's just going to move you 1% towards it? Otherwise, we can plan and then plan how to plan, and then we'll have a meeting about that, and then we'll do a checklist, and then we'll do what's the 1 thing you can be in action about right now? All right, so you might be setting up a brand new email sequence. We'll jump straight into ActiveCampaign or MailChimp or whoever you use, and type up your welcome email. All right, bang, just get that done. Then you can plug in whatever your lead magnet is, and then you can plug in all the sources or whatever. Don't worry about the order in which you do things. When you get started, just start. 1%, 1 thing. Okay, don't worry about the order. I know you're supposed to do things in sequence, and the books will tell you this and the stories will tell you that. Fuck that, do 1 thing. When you're writing that email, what happens because you're in action is the next steps will show themselves to you.
Welcome back after the break. Man, that first part flew by. But some interesting and good key points out of there, about the gladiator. Geez, we've got to work our bums off every day. The disciplined will get disciplined. In the next little section, we want to chat about the 1%ers, Kamahl.
Yeah, the art of Kaizen. If you haven't done any, those in manufacturing will be well aware of Kaizen. If you've done lean manufacturing, it's a principle that was taken in through Toyota, I believe, back in the day. But this is a principle, again, that's been around for thousands of years. It's the compounding conversation. Yeah,
that was, over in New Zealand, we ended up with a lot of those cars from Japan at the time, back in the 80s, 90s. And they had the title of Jap crap.
Yeah.
So where the heck did, this country go from a point of having Jap crap cars to now making some of the best CNC machining centers on the planet, and all the rest of it was through this principle, wasn't it? It was 100%. Through Kaizen.
Yeah, absolutely. And Phil Jackson, the basketball coach, very famously brought this into his team as well. Phil Jackson, I think it was the 80s or 90s, took the Chicago Bulls from an ordinary team to, everyone knows the Bulls through the era of Michael Jordan and the like, and then he went on to do the same with the Lakers. And he brought the 1% principle in, and the 1% was like every player, you had to bring your 1 statistic up by 1% every single game. So your shots from the key have to come up by 1%, or your I don't know my basketball terms here, but you had to make one improvement at 1%. The mistake that most business owners make when they try and improve things, Steve, they look for the big things. It's like, what's something that's going to make the biggest difference, and they get these questions about how you're going to make the biggest difference in your business. Well, that's really great, and you might get a little win with that, but you can cause a lot of damage by that, and it never is sustainable.
Yeah.
So 1%, it's not about, it's not adding up 1 + 1 + 1. What actually happens when you do focus on that 1% is you end up with this compounding multiplier effect. It's like $100 at 1% is 101. Add 1%, and then you're at 102 plus change.
Yeah.
It really compounds over time.
We've got some big experience of this, of like, been on the reverse of this, of chasing the big shiny thing. Probably about 5 years ago, we went and built the whole of eBay, e-commerce system. We're capital equipment. We're the big gear where, someone coming to the site still wants to talk to a salesman at some point. So we went and built this bright shiny thing.
Yeah.
It was bloody expensive, and we tried to implement it in the site and stuff. Instead of going for all those little improvements that were on the table, and we knew it at the time, but we went and chased that big shiny thing, the magic bullet. We used to call it the silver bullet.
Silver bullet.
That was going to fix everything. And the staff even talked about it. They were like, mate, what's the next big silver bullet?
How'd it go? Did it change everything?
Bloody expensive, and it wasn't really the right thing for us.
Looking for the big thing? Get back to the 1% conversation, back to the be disciplined or get disciplined conversation. Absolutely. Every single time. So the key then in the business is, remember, you're not playing business just for this year, you're doing your planning for this year, but you're in business for the next decade. And even if you're going to sell in 2 years' time, or whatever your exit strategy might be, focus in as if you've got a 10-year plan, and your 10-year plan is just, what's one thing that I can improve in my business by 1% this next week? What's one thing that you can do to improve just 1%? And your business at the end of the year, if that's your focus every 7 days, becomes unrecognisable. Yeah,
so then that leads us on to quality questions, because huge part of business, it's in the answers, but it's back at the question, because if they're not the right questions are being asked, you're going to end up with terrible bloody answers, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I think it was Jim Rohn that had taught Tony Robbins, wasn't it? It was all about the quality of question that is going to lead to
Jim
cool.
says the quality of questions determines the quality of your life. Now, bring that into business. It's the quality of question that will determine the quality of your business. And so if you're asking generic questions, how do we get better? How do we sell more stuff? There's so many moving parts of unknown in that.
Yeah.
There's so many ways we could get better, move more stuff, do whatever. But when the question becomes high quality, what's one thing that we can do to improve our sales conversion by 1% in the next 7 days?
Yeah.
That's really tangible. And when there's the way to know if you've got a high quality question, 9 times out of 10, it's got a number or a decimal point or a percentage sign or a dollar sign. It's got something that can be measured.
I think that's the crucial part to it, to measure it. If you can't measure it in business, it's not going to go up, is it?
Well, you can only manage that which you can measure.
There you go.
Hey, how do you improve your culture? Tell me a measurement of your culture in your business right now.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to manage your culture if you don't have the well, how do I know if it's better today than it was yesterday?
Yeah, is it a feeling? Is it a gut feeling? How do I feel?
Yeah,
do I walk in and go, oh, the culture's really bad here, but it was because I had a shitty sleep and a bit grumpy today?
Yeah, you had a bit of a blue in the car on the way into work and everything in the world seems a little bit shit that day. Or you had a little win and everything's rosy. So are there metrics in place that you can actually measure in order to be able to manage it? And that goes across all areas of business. So if you're asking a question of yourself, of your team, what's the next thing we've done our plan here, now how are we going to go about making this extra $1 million this year? That's not a high quality question. What's one thing that we can do to shift from 800,000 in revenue to 850,000 in revenue? Now there's something really specific. Something interesting happens from a psychological perspective when you use that number. There's a little part of the brain called the reticular activating system, and it's the goal-setting part of the brain.
Yeah.
So when I say to you, don't picture a pink elephant on a blue and white. Don't picture a pink elephant on a blue and white striped car. It doesn't matter what I say, but that little RAS will hold on to something tangible and then seek it out.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the same thing applies. What's the one thing that we can do to shift the 1%? That triggers it. This is primal. This is reptilian stuff. And then everybody in the room that's hearing that question then starts looking for the 1%.
Yeah.
Looking for what if we just shifted the hat side? Okay, what if we just did this little thing? And then the tools, the tactics, the strategies become self-evident.
And then they were like, oh, look, we've just seen it. It was always there.
Yeah.
But they'd asked a different question, so then they keep seeking and finding it.
Yeah.
And then that's when it gets really exciting, isn't it? I've seen it in a team when it just goes off, and then measure the culture. Well, measure the culture. It's coming off the back of success. When there's good success around and people asking those right quality questions, then it becomes a very exciting place to work.
Yeah, absolutely. The questions that people ask in a team will tell me. I'll walk into a room, observe a team for 5 minutes, and I'll know more about the culture of that company based on the language that they're using amongst each other than any 3-week psychological 360-degree survey when you listen to the language that people are using. Really telling.
And then the questions around, quality of value proposition for the users, value of proposition for the buyers. What are they getting out of it?
Yeah, well, how do you know what they're getting now if you want to improve it 1%? Are you measuring that?
Yeah, no, it's very cool. So now we move on to the next part, which is love the journey. And this is really important for you, isn't it? When you go into a business, you're like, are they loving the journey or are they loving the thought of the end result? It's about the journey. Do we celebrate today? Do we give our team accolades? Do we work on the culture this week? Do we make it a better place to work this week?
Yeah.
Or do we just do this business thing and then we'll be happy when we sell it?
Yeah.
Or we'll be happy when...
Yeah. Everyone's juiced up and excited when shit's going right. You make the big sale. If you think about the first year or first 2 years you had in business, you're actually juiced up about the whole thing because you're running on adrenaline, you're running on energy. And so doing the paperwork or writing in the Excel spreadsheet, I can't think of anything worse in my business, and this is something I really had to get over, was getting good with my numbers in the business as well, personally. But that's exciting, and because everything's new, And then as you start to grow within the business and start to expand, those things start to become a little bit boring, and you start to go, right, I'll have the win and I'll feel good in the win, but then I'm going to feel like shit when stuff's happening that's, not, and when the problems occur. And so loving the journey is a reminder to get back to that. Imagine you've had your business and it's the first week in business and you tap back into that excitement.
Yeah.
A problem comes, it's not a problem. When a problem hits in that first week, it's like, oh, that was a problem. Oh, well, we sorted that out. Now, when you start to get a bit tired and you start to have honest conversations with yourself, as problems come into the business, like, oh man, when am I just going to fuck? I just want to get a break.
Yeah.
When do I just get a break?
Yeah.
When are all these problems going to go away?
Yeah.
We keep seeking a life, seeking a business that has no problems. But
Yeah, you helped us with that really well when it was like, we used to celebrate the wins very well. We're very good at celebrating wins.
Ring the bell,
I fucking
spin the
love
wheel.
wins, but you were very good at welcoming those problems, working on the solution, uncovering it, because sometimes in the business it was like, oh, let's just sweep that one under the carpet. That didn't go too well. But it's like, that's where our opportunity of growth is in there. That's where it's like, no, let's pull it out. Let's not hang our people. If they're stuffed up, that's all cool. Let's learn from it, because that's where the improvements are going to come from.
Yeah, and there's a level of intellectualizing that where we say, well, here's a problem, let's learn from it because we're going to grow from this. Then there's loving it. Then there's the gratitude.
Yeah.
Because you get problems in business, you get problems in life that you are equipped to deal with. We always get problems that we're equipped to deal with, even though in the moment we don't feel like that. And when you solve that problem in your business, you get the gift of a bigger problem.
Yeah.
See, Branson has problems in his business. Well, they're fucking problems that we can't even comprehend.
Yeah.
But because he's solved problem at this level,
Yeah.
he now is worthy of the problem at this level.
Yeah.
So when a problem comes now, when a problem comes my way, when I'm working with clients and they're coming up and hitting a wall with these problems, the conversation becomes, this is really exciting. Actually, wow, I've never faced a problem this big in my life. It means I've got something really cool coming and a big learning. And then when you solve that, you get worthy of the bigger problem again. And when that attitude shifts, man, everything changes in your business.
Yeah.
And that leadership changes the mentality of your team as well. They stop coming to you for the little niggling things. They start solving shit and growing the business underneath you. It's a really powerful paradigm shift.
Well, it's like, the old, date out with the missus, or, you're wanting a bit of action. You just don't give her a nice pat when you're ready.
Juice up.
We've got to do that on a daily basis.
Let's juice it up before date night because we might get a bit. That's not how you
I might have
do it.
been a little bit guilty of that sometimes.
Yeah,
Sorry.
loving the journey is you come home, it's Tuesday night and you're absolutely screwed from a heavy day of work and there's a load of washing up. You pick it up and you just, this is awesome. I feel absolutely stuffed, but here's an opportunity for me to give back 1%. That's where date night really happens.
And then you go, all right, that's my learning experience. All right, so in summary, well, half an hour, man, that goes fast. But in summary, who are you going to become? Who is the team going to become? It's those quality questions. We talked about it, the quality questions are going to lead you to be a better leader, a better team member. It's about, gladiator. If you're not winning today or doing something great today, someone else is. The competition is. There's too many people out there. There's too much information, advice. People can make things happen very quickly in this day and age.
And your business will thrive or it will die. Nothing in between.
Pot plant.
Yep.
Get a new pot, expands out.
Yep.
Love the journey. We just talked about it, but loving the journey and really getting in amongst it. Be disciplined or get disciplined.
That's a big one.
That just rings a bell in my ear the whole time, so it's very good. So I hope you've all enjoyed today. It's been an absolute pleasure having you in, Cam.
So good being
We've
here.
had a great 3 days. Got him out on the jet ski this morning and blatted up the canal.
Mad.
It was cool, wasn't it? But, meeting the team, having you around. Over the next episode, we've actually got Peter from Sales Masters International, Peter McEwen. He's a brilliant guy, been around 30 or 40 years in the sales world, and he's really going to have some decent quality conversations for you guys about closing machinery, about, closing the sale, about, getting people fired up, about, the disciplines of sales, I guess. So we're going to be doing that on next episode. Hugely excited for that one. Cam, it's flowing by, but
So
thank
good,
you, brother.
so good. The next episode sounds awesome, mate. If you can get 1% of how to close 1% more sales, you're on. Thanks for having me, man. So good.
There you go. So, what we do here, buy better, sell faster.